Courage is a perpetually terrified dog living in a desolate farmhouse with his oblivious owners constantly battling horrors no one else sees. You think it's a cartoon about a scared little dog. No, it's about existential dread wrapped in pink fur. Courage isn't afraid because he's weak's afraid because he's the only one paying attention. Every episode is an allegory for being the only sane person in a house that's made a blood pact with denial. Muriel, kind, loving, and spiritually lobotomized, used to say. Fossilized potato of apathy. The horrors that visit the farmhouse, they're not villains, they're metaphors. The demonic mattress depression, the floating head that yells return, the slab past guilt, that sketchy computer in the attic, that's you frantically Googling symptoms. While reality melts, courage never wins. He just survives, and survival in nowhere is a full-time career. The house is a cursed bubble where logic goes to die and the sky turns red for no reason other than to remind you that time is a lie. Oh, and you want to know the real kicker? There's never an explanation, just pain, a scream, a glitchy jump cut, and a return to static. This isn't a dog's story, it's a whisper from the void wagging its tail while you descend into madness. Teletubbies is a surreal British children's show featuring 4 colorful beings with TVs in their stomachs who live under the all-seeing eye of a sentient baby son. Let me explain the Teletubby apocalypse hypothesis. You think this show is harmless. It's propaganda for a post-human surveillance state. Exhibit A, the baby-faced, soon an omniscient celestial deity that rises and sets with laughter. You're born, under its gaze you live. Under its gaze you die. Under its gaze, the Teletubbies genetic experiments from a pastel-colored biotech cult. What's inside that dome-shaped house no one knows, but it's humming, always humming, probably a containment chamber. The vacuum cleaner has a name. No. Why name the vacuum? Because it watches, it remembers every crumb you drop, every spill, every trace of rebellion. No, consumes it all with unsettling urgency and zero dialogue. It's the janitor of your sins. They repeat everything twice. Because in this world, memory is fragile, repetition is control. Say it again, let the void remember. You ever notice how there's no people, just archived footage inside their bellies? Humans are extinct. The Teletubbies are what we left behind, a cheerful post-apocalyptic cult locked in a loop of manic innocence. Welcome to the end. Booba is a British children's television series featuring 5 fuzzy light-powered blobs performing abstract movement sequences in a void of white. Oh, you've never heard of Booba? That's because it's not a show, it's a psyop. It's what happens when you give a quantum supercomputer LSD and tell it to reinvent religion. 5 anthropomorphic jelly beans float around in a sterile dimension, pulsing with static electricity and mimicking the undulating movements of protolife. Their language unknown, there intentions not benign. There are no plots, no lessons, just vibration, light, sound, motion. The human brain isn't wired for this, and yet we watched it, our developing minds absorbing this pure unfiltered stimulus like bugs circling a bug zapper. They're powered by something called Booba energy. What is that? Who generates it? Is it us? Are we the sacrifice? It's an entrancing void that strips context from experience. The background white, featureless, like the holding room between reincarnations. The Boobas are gatekeepers. Their dance is a ritual. Their stare is timeless. You can't understand Booba, you either ascend or dissolve. Max and Ruby is a Canadian animated series about a bossy older sister and her nearly mute younger brother Rabbit navigating life without any visible parents. Where are the parents? No, seriously, where are they? Not once in the early seasons do we see any sign of parental presence. There are no casual mentions, no family photos, no background noise, just Max, who only speaks in grunts like he witnessed something, and Ruby, who's trying to raise him while maintaining a disturbingly chipper facade. Rubus always trying to control everything. Tea parties, ballet, order. Why? Because without order it all comes crashing down. She's one tantrum away from total collapse. Max, on the other hand, is a creature of chaos. He doesn't speak in sentence. She emits warning signals. Mud monster robot, each word a flare fired into the void, a child's Morse code for help me. The house is always clean, yet sterile. There's a kitchen, but no one ever cooks. The outside world exists, but it's empty. Ruby plays pretend like her life depends on it because it does. She's building normalcy out of ruins. Max remembers, Ruby represses. This isn't a show about siblings, it's a scream into the abyss wrapped in bunny ears. Lazy Town is an Icelandic children's show featuring hyperactive humans and puppets promoting health and activity in a surreal plastic town. This show feels like it was filmed inside a nutritional fever dream. Sporticus is a parkour elf who lives in an airship powered by fruit. He's too perfect, his mustache, too tight, his flips, too precise. The man sleeps in a tube probably, because REM sleep would disrupt his conditioning the way he bursts out of his trapdoor every time a child eats sugar. That's not motivation, that's surveillance biology. And then there's Robbie Rotten, a villain, no, a tragic antihero, the last slacker in a world that worships cardio. He's trying to preserve inertia, the sweet seduction of naps and cake, but he's hunted, hounded, labeled lazy, as if it's a disease. His lair is underground, because society forced him into hiding. He wears disguises, because he's not allowed to exist authentically. The town is made of plastic. Literally, the kids are puppets. Unblinking glossy Stephanie is the only human child forced into fluorescent conformity, dancing and clapping while her soul withers under pink wigs and toxic positivity. This isn't a show about health, it's a warning. When motivation becomes a mandate and rest becomes rebellion, the aerobics instructors win, and they don't stop. In the Night Garden is a British children's show set in a dreamy forest featuring plush creatures, nonsensical language, and a boatload of existential questions. This show is what dreams would look like if dreams were prescribed. It's all soft colors and slow movements and words that sound like someone trying to remember how vowels work during a fever. Iggle Piggle Macca Packa. These aren't names, they're last thoughts before passing out in a dentist chair. Let's talk about Macca Packa, the gravel-faced sponge hermit who roams the garden with a cart full of rocks and a damp obsession with cleaning people's faces. He has no home, just a cave, a wet cave. This isn't hygiene, it's compulsion, ritualistic, ominous. Then there's Upsy Daisy, a flower-drenched chaos vector who yells her own name like she's desperately trying to anchor herself to a fading identity. She carries around a bed, a portable bed. Who does that? Someone who knows she could collapse at any moment under the weight of the dream logic warping around her. The show always ends with Iggle Piggle refusing to go to sleep, sailing away on his boat like a cursed soul who knows if he closes his eyes he'll wake up somewhere else, somewhere worse, because in the Night Garden sleep isn't rest, it's a migration. The Wiggles is an Australian children's music group featuring 4 brightly dressed men singing and dancing in a world of animate fruit and vehicular friends. There's something off about grown men in primary colored shirts performing synchronized dances in a world where their car talks, and a giant purple octopus is just there. The Wiggles smile too hard, their eyes are vacant, like they know the script and fear deviating from it. They never break character ever, even when they're chased by giant bananas or asked to sing to spaghetti. That's not dedication, that's mind control. Captain Feather's word. He's a pirate on land with a feather. He laughs too much, it's forced hollow, like he's laughing because he has to, or the show's physics will collapse, and we'll see the cracks in the dimension. And don't get me started on Dorothy the dinosaur. She's kind, too kind, and always present like a handler, a smiley, prehistoric chaperone sent by whatever powers built this cheerful prison to ensure the Wiggles don't remember. Because if they did, if even one of them blinked out of sync, the entire reality would burst like an overfilled balloon. This isn't entertainment, it's containment with jazz hands. The Big Comfy Couch is a Canadian children's show featuring a clown named Lynette who lives on an oversized couch and spends her days in imaginative play with her doll Molly. Welcome to the soft fabric purgatory known as the Big Comfy Couch. This is not a house, it's not a home, it's a stage set of a brain, Lynette's brain to be precise, and it's unraveling one segment at a time. She lives alone on a couch with a doll that's maybe alive depending on the episode and your level of sleep deprivation. She exercises on the floor every morning in a clock shape because time isn't just passing, it's watching, judging, looping. Every second of that clock stretch feels like a punishment for crimes never confessed. She calls it the 10-second tidy. It's not tidy, it's manic, purging, a frenzied attempt to restore order to a mind that's built on felt denial and old VHS static. The doll Molly blinks subtly occasionally, as if she's resisting the rules of the universe. Lynette talks to her, constantly projecting guilt, love, fear, confusion. Molly never answers, just stares. She remembers everything. And let's not forget Granny Garbanzo, who may or may not be a hallucination spawned from Lynette's repressed longing for parental structure. She shows up just enough to remind you that nothing in this world is stable. Even the garden gnome might be sentient. This isn't a kid's show, it's an unmedicated journal entry dressed up in clown shoes. Bear in the Big Blue House is a puppet-based children's show where Bear, a gentle giant, speaks directly to viewers and teaches life lessons inside a sentient house. Ah yes, Bear, the 7-foot-tall embodiment of gentle dread, who opens every episode by sniffing the air, not metaphorically literally. He leans into the screen, sniffs you, and whispers what you smell, like Eminem, you smell like apples, apples, why apples, Bear, what do you know, the house is alive. The kitchen utensils blink, the moon Luna talks to him. She floats in the window like a glowing corporate therapist offering vague encouragements while hiding a moon-sized agenda. She knows where Bear goes when he sleeps. She sees everything, and the puppets, each one's a case study. In unresolved trauma, Tutter the neurotic mouse is one stubbed toe away from a total psychotic break. Ojo, the little bear cub, is obsessed with imaginary friends because the real ones keep disappearing. Trilo the lemur twitches like someone's controlling him from another dimension. Which, let's be honest, they are every day, ends with Bear staring at the moon saying good night, not to you, to her, like he's checking in, reporting, seeking permission to rest. It's cozy, sure, but that warmth, that's the warmth of the trap. Blue's Clues is a children's mystery show where the host and the audience work together to follow clues left by a blue dog to solve small household problems. Blue doesn't bark, she leaves glyph symbols, clues, and Steve's not the hostess, the interpreter, the medium. He's been chosen. Every episode begins with him greeting you like a man who hasn't seen another living soul in years, desperate to pretend he's not alone. Hi, you're here. Yes, Steve, we are, but are you? Steve talks to the camera like it's a god. He asks questions, then waits. He doesn't blink. He doesn't move, just stares and listens for something. What if no one answers? What happens then? Steve the notebook, a grimoire, the thinking chair, a throne of unraveling cognition. Every clue leads to a conclusion that's suspiciously safe, like the truths being edited for broadcast. Blue knows more than she lets on. She controls the narrative. Her paw prints appear with purpose. Testing Steve, testing you. The mailbox talks. The salt shakers have a child. The world makes no sense, and Steve, he smiles through it until he disappears. One day Steve just leaves. They say he went to college, but what kind of college needs a blood pact?